Zui vele ngoma izokusala lumbe fumlo wakho inike tembelitsha ngathanda zui vele ngoma izokusala lumbe fumlo wakho inike tembelitsha
It is DJ Sbu coming through featuring Zahara on the vocals on this one. Lengoma is the name of this particular track. What I'm not clear about is in the genesis of this song, what came first? Because I think she'd already written the vocal, and I think she'd already had been performing the vocal. I stand to be corrected, but I think she'd already written and was performing the vocal as part of just her set before her discovery. And of course, when her road intersected with DJ Sbu and they started working together, then it just found perfect synergy with the beat that he had created in studio. And of course, Lengoma took off as one of the biggest songs of that year. That is how we kick off the very short edition of The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, this Friday. Literally just wrapping up this final hour of the show. Sakina handling business today from Kimberley, if I'm not mistaken, with with the town hall discussions. As you know, because we are in election season, we do have some special programming that's coming through from time to time. And we've had a running series of town halls that Bongiwe had been conducting over the last 2 months or so. And of course, Sakina coming through this afternoon. We're going to start, I think we have about 2 more to go before we get to the 29th of May, but we'll keep you posted as and when those happen. So in this very short hour that we have together, we're going to catch up with the folks at the National Arts Festival. They're turning 50 years old. And of course, we thought it's only prudent and right for us to celebrate and mark this milestone by reflecting back on the National Arts Festival over the last 5 decades, and of course, what the future might hold for the institution. Also, coming up today on stages, pages, screens, and more, the National School of the Arts celebrates 30 years of democracy with a short-lived Broadway at the Soweto Theatre. And you know that I am a big fan and a big advocate for the work, the exceptional work that they do at the National School of Arts. And of course, they've been the birth of some really incredible creative and artistic alumni, the likes of Langa Mavuso, for instance, the likes of Zoe Mudicha, all really are alumni of the National School of the Arts, including our very own head of content here at SABC, Miss Lala Tuku, also coming from that school. So we're going to catch up with them and find out how they're marking 30 years of democracy. It's just gone 20 past 2 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. And of course, we are live streaming as per usual on our social media platforms. And you can find us wherever you are at SAFM. Radio is the handle.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
Rusira Sithal joins me now, and Rusira is the artistic director for the multidisciplinary National Arts Festival that's come a very, very long way since its inception back in 1974, celebrating 50 years of exceptional work within the artistic community. Quite a milestone to reflect upon this afternoon, Rusira. How are you doing? Rusira?
Especially for an arts festival to still hold its ground and carry on year after year.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been a long road, and I can't imagine that it's always been smooth sailing over the 5 decades.
No, I mean, the interesting thing about the National Arts Festival, and, through this, particularly in the past few months, preparing for this year and this festival, we've been looking in the archive, looking at the programs, and it's really fascinating. You kind of get into the stories of how this festival has grown over 5 decades, how it's responded to the changing South Africa, and how it's been a platform for the kind of shifting voice of the country as it's gone through these 5 decades. And of course, there's the political hardships that we know of, but there's also just it's very interesting to see the kind of challenges that the festival has had as an arts institution, as a festival, just keeping on going over 5 decades for sure.
Yeah, and of course, we know that you haven't been at the helm as artistic director for over 5 decades, obviously.
No.
But in your tenure with the institution, if we're just still sticking to the history of it, just the impact of the National Arts Festival, the impact that it's had not only on the artistic and creative sector, but also in the community that it's sort of called home over the years, the community of Makanda.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I started in 2020, which was, of course, COVID, and it was a really a disastrous year in many ways, of course, for performance and the arts. And it was also exceptionally evident within the community of Makanda. The impact that the festival has in the space, of course, on an economic level, in terms of what it does for existing businesses, where local members of community are involved in the creation of the program. But I think also, this as a home for the arts and as a place to give voice to, it certainly was a very difficult period to start with. And I think kind of 2020, 2021 as well was quite trying, as much for the community as it was for the country in that context. But we've kind of come through. I mean, I think also one of the beautiful things about the festival, which again has grown over the years, is that the festival has the curated program, which is works that are selected by the artistic committee, and then it also has the fringe program, which is uncurated or unselected works, where the festival supports. Creates the venues and the opportunities for artists around the country, but also the Eastern Cape and Makanda to present work. And in this sense, it's really, I think, that possibility year after year to kind of give space for the ventilation of what's going on, what artists are thinking, kind of responses, but also celebration. This I'm glad we've kind of managed to get back on track after 2020 and 2021, which were very difficult years to kind of, let's say, hold fort both in Makanda and as a national institution.
And yet you came out of out of COVID. And I would think you came out stronger, more resilient, and perhaps maybe came out of those COVID years even introspecting on how you'd like to move forward in the future. What were some of the learnings for you and your team in as far as this institution is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. I think the one thing that was clear, and maybe it was a kind of an affirmation of the place and the relevance and the importance of the festival. I think at the time in the 2020 and 2021 edition, there was a lot of questions about what does it mean to kind of go online, and but the importance of holding that space and really having the festival as the kind of a testing ground for artists, and also a space where artists they kind of forge their careers over decades. Really, that the importance of that, I think, was reiterated coming out of the COVID years. And I think moving forward, it's also it's been as well a kind of reality check that we all experience the harsher economic climate, the sense of things being, I guess, not as fixed, or not, we're in a lot of change, kind of constant change. And so the festival, I think, has been able to be responsive to that. What we did do in 2020 was, in this step to go digital, we really responded to the artists and worked with them. I think that was very much the point of departure. And how do we get through these years? And that really, that was very important for the festival to do, particularly at that time. And I think it really kind of set a tone as well for us moving forward, and kind of strengthening the festival's sense of being in partnership with artists, but also in partnership with other institutions, other organizations who have also been with us over the years to kind of ensure that this festival is running, is funded, is happening. We've worked with Rhodes University for many years, Standard Bank, Eastern Cape Department of Sports, Recreation, Art and Culture. All of those kind of this sense of partnership and working together has really been, I think, our strength, and something that we're giving strength to moving forward.
And looking at the festival as a sort of a living space, as an evolving space in many ways. I think a lot of goers as well, if they had to sort of shut their eyes and reflect on the 50 years, a lot of goers will also tell you that for them, every single year holds something different, a different energy, a different offering. It sort of evolves with its surroundings and with its audiences, and hence it becomes this thing that almost breeds outside of just being an artistic festival.
Yeah, this is something that I look forward to, and I think the National Arts Festival team as well, those of us who are kind of in the grind, it's always, it's a lot of work and it's quite tiring, but it's, you put together the program, you have everything in place. You can see our website, it's live for tickets, who's coming, musicians, comedians. And then when you get to the festival, it's really its own experience. And like I mean, I've experienced now for several years that when you're inside of it, it really, it is its own thing, and it does things to you. You know what I mean? Like if you see different works, you can be quite profoundly impacted, you know. And then I think what's also particular about the festival is because it is in Makanda, and really, you know, the festival takes over the town. You know, we have artistic productions in halls and theaters and, you know, in the monument building. And so it's really this immersive experience. So it's quite different from if you're, let's say, living in Johannesburg and you go to the theater one night, which is fantastic if you do that. But going to the festival where you really have this possibility to step outside of your life and immerse yourself in this like artistic and commentary and celebratory offering, which is a very special experience, really. And I think when you were asking your question, this is the kind of image that came to mind.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick pause for the headline news, and then we'll come back on the other side. And I want to find out exactly what's in store for the National Arts Festival's 50th anniversary.
Thanks, Bridge. A very good afternoon. With the news headlines, Kemudubima Khalemere. Former ANC Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe says the party's rules, including the step-aside rule, may be triggered as Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Zizi Kodwa faces money laundering charges. A Gauteng traffic officer has been shot and killed at his home in Eersterust near Hammanskraal, north of Pretoria. And the International Criminal Court has broken its silence amidst speculation that it may issue an arrest warrant against Israeli Prime Minister.
Multidisciplinary National Arts Festival. And of course, this year they are celebrating their 50th anniversary. It's been 5 decades of this internationally renowned festival. And the celebrations are taking place against the backdrop of the country marking 30 years of democracy. And I can almost imagine that yourselves and the curating team have responded to this quite spectacularly.
We've tried to. I mean, the timing is quite something. I mean, elections on the 29th, and then the new the results should be announced just before the festival. So it'll be quite fertile ground, I think, for reflection and commentary. But we did try to respond programmatically. There's an exhibition that I'm quite excited about. It's titled A Luta Continua, and it's the Constitutional Court's Arts Collection that has really, yes, with Catherine Kennedy as the curator and working with our visual arts team and putting together a collection that's going to kind of weave its way through the monument building, which, of course, the full title of that building is the 1820 Settlers, I think it's Settlers Heritage Monument Building. So already there's a kind of dialogue there. But I know there's a beautiful description. Justice L.B. Sachs had described the collection as an intense longing for human justice, which is a really beautiful way to encapsulate it. So that's one exhibition to look out for. And we also do walkabouts, which I think is a really nice opportunity to have people who are really invested in or part of putting the exhibition together, walk audience through and speak to works and answer questions. Go ahead, Brenda.
No. Go ahead.
I was wanting to also just mention another theatre. We have 2 theatre works coming from a company called Empath Theatre, who are out of KwaZulu-Natal, headed by Neil Copin, who's a previous Standard Bank Young Artist winner. And the Empath Theatre's kind of methodology or the way that they approach theatre making is really kind of research-based and looking at human stories and a lot of kind of stories of justice and hope inside of their productions. And they have a work called The Last Country, which looks at migration and a kind of inclusive city, particularly at Durban, and Lalela Uluwandle, which looks at oceans, ocean management, ocean heritage. So I think there's aspects of the program that are looking back at our political history, as well as others that are, I suppose, stepping forward from the grounds that we have gained in '94, right? Our amazing constitution and some of the seeking of justice that we or or the vision of 94 that we still hold on to, I guess.
And I think that probably in this moment of our democracy and in this moment of who we are as a society, maybe even more important that the sense of stepping forward into what some might call Mandela's vision of 94, and art has a really quite the beautiful way of doing that, and doing it in a way that is palatable to most people, though may cause discomfort at times, but also provides the ability for us to engage in those conversations that are often difficult, but that we need to be engaging in as a society that's stepping forward, in a society that's evolving.
Absolutely. And I think, what is the potentiality with art is that on the one hand, yes, you can have works that, like some of the ones I've described, that speak really directly to particular themes, particular questions, but on the other hand, you also have approaches where it's really about kind of opening windows of possibilities, making space for imagination, and a context like a festival, like the National Arts Festival, has this kind of array of work. There's another work which is Afronauts, which I'm really excited about, and it's a circus piece, and it's a group coming out of Zambia. They're called Circus Zambia, and it's a circus work, so it's fun, and it's a great space for the family to come to. And there's also a narrative and a story in it that has historical references in the 1960s in Zambia. A group of I suppose some people thought they were crazy, and other people thought they were really, very imaginative and brave and innovative group of people who decided that they want Zambia to have a contingent of Afronauts to go to the moon, and really were quite serious about this project and took it on. And there's something very special in the possibility to also kind of find these stories or these spaces where we can really challenge ourselves to open up possibilities of how we're thinking about things, what we're imagining. So the festival has this kind of range, I think, as well, which is very exciting.
It definitely sounds like it is the place to be for the 50th anniversary. A lot's in store indeed at the National Arts Festival. And to you and your team who work so tirelessly to put all of this together, to take this little festival in this little sleepy town, this little sleepy academic town in the Eastern Cape, and export it to a global market. Congratulations on 50 years, and to every artistic director that has come before you and the teams that have come before you. And here's to 50 more. We appreciate the time with you this afternoon, Rusiria Sithil, and no doubt we'll see you in a very cold Makanda just in time for the National Arts Festival. That was Rusiria Sithil, who is the artistic director, of course, of the National Arts Festival. 50 years this year of the Makanda Festival, and it's always quite the hoot. Every single year when a person goes there, I always forget just how cold Makanda is. Last year I was the sole sponsor for the Mr. Price that is around the corner, having to double up on vest and all kinds of things. But what a time was had indeed. Let's take a quick pause here, and then we're going to go into Nalibali, and hopefully by the time we are wrapped, then our next guest will be in studio reflecting back on the National School of the Arts as they celebrate 30 years of democracy.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.2 FM in East London.
Friends, and welcome to Nali Bali. Do you have a younger sibling? How was it like when your parents introduced them to you? Well, having a younger sibling doesn't mean your parents don't love you anymore or they love you any less. You also have to love each other and care for one another as siblings. Today's story is called Thandiwe the Unloved, written by Phumeza Ngobozana. But before we listen to today's story, let's all get up and dance. Thandiwe was 11 years old. She had an older brother, Buyambo, and a younger sister, Zizinwe. They lived with their mama and Aunt Vuvu. Mama was a nurse and worked long hours at the hospital. Aunt Vuvu helped around the house and also looked after them while Mama was at work. Thandiwe was close to Aunt Vuvu, but she believed that her brother and sister did not like her much. When Thandiwe was younger, she often played board games with her brother, and they always walked home from school together. But everything changed when Zizinwe was born.
Oh, what a cute baby.
Their neighbor said, and everyone who visited agreed. They made a fuss over Zizinwe. Mama, Buyambo, and Aunt Vuvu all loved Zizinwe. Thandiwe loved Zizinwe too, but she did not understand why people now treated her as if she was invisible. Buyambo now walked home from school without her, and they never played board games together anymore. As soon as Buyambo got home from school, he looked for Zizinwe.
Hey Zizinwe, come, let's paint a picture.
He'd say to Zizinwe. At other times, he read to Zizinwe and told her stories, but they never included Thandiwe. Thandiwe also saw that Mama was always tired and grumpy when she came back from work, so she didn't want to bother her. And Aunt Vuvu was always busy and didn't like playing. Zizinwe was now 7 years old, but she was still referred to as the baby.
Why does everyone still call her a baby? When I was 7, I was told to be responsible and look after Zizinwe.
Thandiwe grumbled. Thandiwe did not understand any of it. Her name meant the one who is loved, but she felt like she was Thandiwe the unloved. She was lonely at home.
Not Mama, nor Aunt Vuvu have noticed how unhappy I am.
Thandiwe sighed. One day, Mama called Thandiwe.
Thandiwe, could you please take this parcel to Aunt Makazi for me?
Mama asked. And Makazi was Mama's younger sister.
Yes, with pleasure, Mama.
Thandiwe answered. And Makazi lived in the same area, but it was safer to take a taxi to get there. Thandiwe was used to taking a taxi alone, but she had visited Aunt Makazi and her cousin Kabisa many times. But when she arrived at Aunt Makazi's house, her aunt wasn't home. Luckily, Kabisa was home. Thandiwe said,
I could leave the parcel with you, Kabisa, but I'd rather wait for your Mama to get home.
That's fine, Thandiwe. We can play some games while we wait.
Said Kabisa. First, they played hide and seek, and then the game of 3 teens. When Aunt Makazi got home later that afternoon, she was happy to see Thandiwe and gave her a big hug.
Thandiwe, would you like to have a sleepover with your cousin? It is way too late for you to go home on your own. My cell phone is broken, but I'll write a note that you can give your mama tomorrow. I'm sure she'll understand.
Aunt Makazi said. Thandiwe smiled happily. Kabisa was excited too. The girls knew that Aunt Makazi was more fun than many other adults. She always joined them when they played board games. She was the champion of Scrabble. That evening, they all played Monopoly together until it was time for bed. The next morning, Tandiwe woke up and rubbed her eyes.
I know I'm not home. So why can I hear Mama's voice?
Tandiwe looked at her watch. It was 5:25 in the morning. She slowly got out of bed and put on the gown that Cebisa had given her. When she walked into the lounge, she saw her mom and Aunt Makazi drinking rooibos tea together. While she stood there quietly, she noticed that Mama's eyes were red, as if she had been crying. When Mama saw Tandiwe, she jumped up and opened her arms. Mama gave Tandiwe a big, tight hug that almost took her breath away. Mama was sobbing. Tandiwe was very surprised.
Mama, why are you crying?
Tandiwe asked. Eventually, Mama answered.
We were all so worried about you. We thought something terrible had happened to you. My precious baby. I took the first taxi this morning to come and look for you.
At that moment, Tandiwe realized something she should have known all along, that her family really cared about her.
I am loved.
She whispered as she smiled at Mama, then gave her another big hug that almost took Mama's breath away. And so we come to the end of another Nali Bali story time. Today's story was called Tandiwe the Unloved, written by Pumeza Ngobozana. Did you know that reading and telling stories to children at home can help them do better at school? If you want free stories to read to your children or for your children to enjoy on their own, visit Nali Bali website www.nalibali.org or Mobi site www.nalibali.mobi. You'll find stories in 11 South African languages, as well as tips for reading and sharing stories with your children to grow their potential. Also look out for the bilingual Nali Bali Reading for Enjoyment supplements with great children's stories and activities available in newspapers. Nali Bali, it starts with a story.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.9 FM in Port Shepstone. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Alrighty, we are in a celebratory mood, and the National School of the Arts is celebrating 30 years of democracy with a production that they are calling Short Left Broadway, and it's being hosted at the Soweto Theatre, and we thought we'd catch up with them today as we wrap up the show. And joining me, we have the director and choreographer of the production, Lesego van Niekerk, and of course the lead actress in the role of Naledi Oratile Makena. How are you doing, little one?
I'm doing great, and how are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. I cannot go. Your first radio interview.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're a big star now. Hey?
I try.
No, that you are. You're not trying, that you are. So 30 years of democracy, and the National School of the Arts is bringing together this production at the Gibson Kenter Theatre in Soweto, happening from May the 16th until the 19th. Tell me a little bit, Lesego, you are directing directing this piece.
Yes, I am.
Let's have, firstly, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for having us, guys.
It's only a pleasure. Have you worked extensively with the National School of the Arts?
I'm actually an alumnus of the NSA, so I matriculated back when I was a young girl. I matriculated 2007.
Okay.
And the school was a huge part of who I've become as a firstly dancer, then choreographer, and now director. And then 3 years ago, they kind of just called me and said, hey, can you come and just work? And it's just been happening year after year. So now here we are with Short Left Broadway.
Yeah.
We actually premiered the show last year on the Mandela at the Joburg Theatre.
Oh.
And we didn't realize what a hit we had on our hands. And then the Naledi Theatre Awards picked us up and nominated us with two awards.
Yeah.
And then the Soweto Theatre picked us up and they're taking us to the Gibson Kente. So it's been quite an incredible journey, not just for me as a director, but really for the school. I think this is the nod that the school needed and just the boost that the kids needed as well.
Absolutely. Listen, we are big fans around here of the work that the National School of the Arts does, and it's got some incredible alumni that have, come through the doors of it, including yourself and our very own head of SABC content in these parts, Lala Tuku, as well. And so last year was the first offering of this play. It seems like you guys have had an incredible run. Tell me about it. It's an original production, right?
It is an original production written by Tshepo Samuel Ratona, who is an incredible writer. And just briefly, the story is about the lead that Oratile plays, and her name is Naledi, appropriately named because in Setswana, Naledi means star.
Yeah.
And it's about this girl who's got this big Broadway dream, and you kind of think the story is going to go the way any typical dream story goes. But on her journey to kind of getting this callback for Sarafina, which is poetic considering 30 years of freedom, on her way to this callback, then a terrible thing happens that completely catapults her into this unknown world where she needs to, in essence, find her way back. And different themes, themes of stardom, themes of dreams, but also themes of trauma, things of generational trauma, healing, connections. So it takes us on a very unexpected journey, but I think a journey that we all can relate to in a way. Yeah.
Absolutely. And for you, young Oratile, I'm presuming that you've been at NSA, for a few years now. What grade are you in?
I'm in grade 12.
You're in grade 12? Oh my goodness! Look at you. Must go home and tell mom and dad. Thank you for the genetics. So you're in grade 12. So you've been there throughout high school?
Yes.
How's the school for you?
The school is good.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a dream because I've never been to that kind of school because grew up in a township school, So going there was a big opportunity for me because it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a dancer, and being there and getting professional training, it's a big opportunity for me. So I'm very grateful.
I love it. And in terms of, I know we're going to get into this production, but in terms of the productions that you've done in your years at the school, for you as a performer, what kind of impact and growth and development have you seen in yourself since?
Honestly, with other productions that I've done, it was more of dance, So I felt very confident when it came to dance, because it's what I've always wanted to do, and what I've been doing ever since I was young. So when I had to come to Broadway and audition for Broadway, that was a huge change because Broadway is like a musical production, which I'm not really fond of. I'm not fond, but I've never really done before. So to actually be in it was a life-changing dream because I've never sang in front of people. Yeah. So to actually be in it, it was beautiful.
I love it.
And the impact that it has made is that it has actually made me gain confidence in singing, which is something I've never done before, like I said. Yeah. So
I love it. And the audition process, were you in the first installation of Short Left Broadway, or is this the first time you're with the production?
It's the first time I'm with the production.
Okay. And how was the audition process?
The audition process was actually okay. I wasn't really nervous about it, but yes, I was nervous to sing. But it was amazing. It was beautiful.
I love it. I love it. Isn't it fantastic? I love it when we speak to the young kids at NSA, because NSA has really gone through the waters in recent years to keep their doors open. And when you see the young creatives that come from the school or that are in the school, you understand why it's so important to have the school in the first place.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely, completely. And I mean, that's the thing that for me, even on tough days, because it's what we're doing is quite big, and maybe to other people it might not seem like that, but for us, we don't, and I say us as part of NSA, we don't take it for granted. And that's one of the things that really gets me going on tough days, where you're like really faced with a mountain. And I think about these kids and I'm like, this is for them. This is for them. This is their moment. This is their opportunity. Let's rally behind them, and let's rally behind the school and make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what's it like then directing and choreographing this piece? Firstly, how big is the ensemble?
44. I've got 44,
44,
including all my leads. And then I've got 8 that are backstage. And then I've got 16 that are up in the band and the orchestra. So do the math.
Wow,
do the
that's
math.
a big production.
Yeah.
Shoo.
And I think for me as a director, the truth is, my producer said, Lesego, cast of 30, that's it.
Yeah.
And I sat in these auditions and it was just hard. You know, these kids are wanting, and they are so talented, not just wanting, but their want is matched by their talent. And so I really had to think about, is it me sticking to the rules, or am I actually going to extend myself and give these kids an opportunity?
Yeah.
And so that's how I landed up at 44, which sometimes I'm like, what were you thinking? But then when I watch them and I just see how they shine and how much they love being in the rehearsals as well, it's worth it. It's
Absolutely.
Worth it. Yeah.
Playing your role, Naledi, madam,
Yes,
what's
ma'am.
that been like?
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
It's been great, because like the Naledi role is hard, but like you just get used to it.
What's the most challenging part of playing Naledi?
I feel like being confident.
Okay.
Honestly, I lack confidence a lot. So the challenging part, because Naledi is a star and wants to be a star, you know, there's a lot of confidence in her character. So to actually like bring out that confidence is challenging.
So where do you go? Where do you go to find that inspiration? How do you bring that out?
That's a very difficult question. Honestly, I think it's Miss L and Miss Sane, as well as the people that actually like I work with, like my friends and whatnot, because every time I get like messages like, you can do this, you know, like inspiring messages, you know. So I think that's what actually like made me confident, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Are you looking forward to performing at the Gibson Kente Theatre in Soweto?
Yes.
Do you know who Gibson Kente was?
No.
It just learned yesterday. Our musical coach kind of told them something about Gibson Kente, and they stared at her, and I said, guys, we're performing on the Gibson Kente. Let's get with it.
So you're going to Google? So
Yes,
that next
I am.
time you and I talk, you know who Gibson Kente is?
Definitely.
Okay, I'm going to hold that to you, because I'm also going to remember your name. I get the feeling you're going places. So you're running at the Gibson Kente the weekend of the 16th to the 19th.
Yes, we actually open on the 17th.
Oh, okay, you open on the
17th
17th.
to the 19th.
All right, so 16th is what? Pre-show, preview?
16th is a dress rehearsal.
Okay, yes. Okay. 17th till the 19th at the Gibson Kente Theatre in Soweto. This should be a great ball of fun. Is it a production that's the whole family we can come? Or?
Absolutely. Please bring the children. It's completely age appropriate, but also it relates to any age. I mean, we've got Naledi, who's an 18-year-old, and we've got her grandmother, who's a 75-year-old. So there's so many, like I said, it touches on generations, touches on healing, connection, dreaming again. And I think the youth of South Africa need to dream again. We need to instill hope again in the people. So absolutely, bring all the children. Even kids, I think maybe as young as 6 and 7. I think they'd easily be able to follow basically what's going on in the story.
Lovely stuff. As we wrap it up, Oratile, who is your sort of your inspiration when it comes to the world of theatre, the world of performance, dance, theatre, whatever it may be?
So when it comes to dance, it's definitely Kitty Petha. And then when it comes to music, I don't have. I see a video, I see a video of someone singing, or I see someone singing. It's just inspiration, like all of it. So I don't really have that kind of a person, honestly.
And you don't have to have a singular person, but Kitty is a good one when it comes to dance. Ladies, thank you so much for coming through to chat with us and for visiting us today. All the best of luck with your opening night come the 17th of May. So for 3 nights, 17th, 18th, 19th of May, they're out at the Soweto Theatre. You can catch this production, which is titled Short Left Broadway, and it's presented to you by the National School of the Arts. From myself and my team, we thank you for choosing to be with us, albeit a very short afternoon today because of those town hall discussions. But as I keep saying, that we are in the middle of election season, and so we will be taking some special programming on our side from time to time. Inshallah, we meet each other again on Monday. Have an incredible weekend further.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
A judgment was passed. B, the ANC Secretary General